All right, well, welcome everybody to a virtual tour of a earth-sheltered, passive solar green roof home. We're here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. My name is Brett Little. I'm the executive director here at the Green Home Institute. Green Home Institute is a nonprofit with a mission to empower people to make healthier and more sustainable choices in the renovation and construction of the places we live. Today I will be the moderator of this session, and I will also be helping film it. And I'm here with the homeowner, Tom Newhouse, and he's going to quick introduce himself, and then he's going to be taking us behind the scenes into his home. So, Tom, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Welcome everybody to Underhill. We call our house Underhill. It's certainly not a cave by any means, but it is earth sheltered, passive solar, 2 stories in the ground on the north, 2 stories out of the ground on the south, so we'll give you a tour of it. And we're in our 39th year here, and I'll give you little stories and anecdotes of successes and failures. Mostly joy, because it's just a nice place to be in a very private setting. So I guess I could open up by saying why. Why did we do this? My wife Jill and I met in the University of Michigan in 1970. We both graduated at the same time in 1972, and we were in that Ann Arbor, University of Michigan culture of liberal thought, and ecology was emerging. It was pretty cool. The Greening of America was one of the books. So we got smitten by the idea of living softly on the earth. So when we could afford it, after we were married, we thought we would defer children until we got this big experiment done. We did that. So for 5 or 6 years, she and I, my wife and I, designed and redesigned a building, found a site that we really wanted to use, a hillside, so that we could do a passive solar and earth integrated green roof building, which to me, when I did all my research, would really optimize the energy issue, living close to nature. Goals of having no grass, no conventional grass, lowest possible kilowatt hours per year, all that stuff. And so I feel very fortunate. I worked for Herman Miller for 6 years as an industrial designer, and quit Herman Miller in 1978 to build this massive experiment. My wife kept working, and after we got it built in the end of 78, we thought about kids, and then we had 1 kid instead of 2. We believe we've always been a member of zero population growth, and we stopped at 1. It would have been perfectly fine philosophically if we'd have stopped at 2. But 1 was good, and that's even better for some of the biggest problems we have on the earth, which is overpopulation. Different topic for a different day, but all part of the grand experiment of living softly on the earth. Ecological design was the term used back then. Sustainability hadn't even been coined. So eco-design was the goal. And I just wanted to learn more and more that I could about it. And so why don't we take a walk? And
yeah, we're going to go ahead and start heading up the house, head up to the roof, and as we're going, feel free to ask questions, and we may take them as they come in, or we're going to have some Q&A time at the end. So, great, let's go.
Okay, so as we're walking west, so you're seeing the east side of the building, and a double-stall garage. There's 2 hybrid cars in there, a Prius and an Escape. Brad also drives a Prius, so politically correct.
You caught me.
Yeah. So looking at the east, I'd like to bring up my first topic. We were looking for a south-facing hill. I found a west-facing hill, so I had to design the building, which I built myself then, to turn the hill 90 degrees. So as we walk around, you'll see that west-facing hill I slashed through with the building. So we've got garages and kind of a cool deep entry, but then it opens up out the other side of the hill, and the south side earth was moved to the north. Literally, kind of proving, I think, that you could have, if you find a hill and you want to do a house like this, you could find everything from a west, obviously west to south to east, if you can turn the hill 90 degrees. North, if facing north, you're not going to be able to do too much in terms of passive solar gain. So, okay, so let's take a walk, get to know the topography. Every elevation is different. This is totally custom designed to the site. So I just let the site terrain inform what was happening. So the east side is entry, and let's go up on the roof. And you'll see as we come up, we are turning and now looking south. You see the composting here. We've always done all composting of any kind of organic food waste, etc., except for meat. Meat scraps attract too much vermin, so it's just not good to do. But all of our vegetable waste, food waste, go in there. Okay, so we're arriving at the north side of the house, looking south, and you will see that there a little bit of the house shows. It's a two-story house everywhere. A little bit of the house shows on the north, just small windows. I didn't want to design a house with windowless rooms. A lot of underground houses are that way. Didn't want to do that. And right from the start, we wanted a green roof. And so we had one since 1978. So in 35 years later, 4 years ago, the membrane started to leak. That was a big problem. But the opportunity was to put on the wonderful new, very lightweight green roof tray systems. Advanced Green Roof, contractor right in Grand Rapids here, partnered with me, and we even went into the whole 9 yards of very sustainable, diverse diversity on the roof, and we were able to get a certified wildlife habitat rating for the roof. So literally it's like a park on the roof, and it is a certified wildlife habitat. What do you have to do to get that? Water features, of course vegetation, obvious, insect towers, bird houses, things that, right here is a butterfly. It's a butterfly shelter. It's the coolest thing I've never had seen one, but in a storm, only butterflies can get in there, I guess. It's kind of cool. I didn't have to have that particular item. But. So as we're walking onto the roof, you can see that we have sitting areas, a pond. It's really nice to sit here in the morning with a coffee, or in the evening with a beer or wine. And then the diverse culture. You might be surprised to see cactus, but the dunes of Michigan have prickly pear cactus, and they're doing real well this year. Some strawberries. Generally, the general cover is very low, is sedum. That is really the only plant on this roof that is not native to Michigan. But it is kind of the basic thing you need on a green roof for lightweight, drought tolerance. So with the Advanced Green Roof people and myself, we got 35 other species that are indigenous to Michigan, from onions, doing beautifully, to prickly pear, strawberries. And over here you can see that here and there, I put the 35-year-old roof material with plantings back on. That's what the roof looked like for 35 years. It was just plain weeds. And it was okay, but it really wasn't a place to be. It was all tall. And there was a lot of grape ivy, which I'm training in the last 3 years now. The grape managed to come up, and I'm going to train it just along the north edge and not have it come out everywhere. Beautiful grasses and such. So a water feature. And if we come around here, you'll see now it's a 3,100 square foot roof. Originally designed, of course, for a green roof. This is the second green roof. All 4-degree angle drainage. Drainage is a really big deal in earth-sheltered houses, because if you have leakage, if you have water absorption, so very careful to have good drainage off the roof, and then really good eaves troughs, and get the moisture away from the rest of the building. The biggest advantage of a green roof, if you can do it on your building, is pretty much the total necessity, never having to need air conditioning at all. The building's always in the shade, and evaporative heat loss is the concept where obviously there'll be some moisture in a green roof. On a very hot day, it's called evapotranspiration. So it's the physics of, just like when you're in a, everybody knows it, if you're in a mist in a hot day in a park, kids playing, it feels cool. It's because it's the natural physics of evapotranspiration makes you feel cooler. the whole house is cool. This never really has sun load on it. Not to mention how nice it is to have a green roof and be on it. So if you come further on, you'll start to see here, and we'll look more when we come around the south side, but here you can see from the top, it's called the band de Soleil. That means a barrier to sun. It's drop-in slats that completely shade the building in the hot months. And they're removable because the sun angle in the south in the winter is very low, but in the summer it's very high, and then it goes back and forth, and it's a deep enough overhang that you don't get overheating. Passive solar houses have had a lot of problems, especially in the 70s, 80s, with overheating. Gigantic glazing walls. Nobody thought of overhangs or shading. So luckily I had done enough research to figure that out. So the whole building then is shaded on the south. As we walk around, I'll show you more. You can see a wood burning chimney. In the 70s, I really was thinking of, I have about 3 acres here, any dead wood I would burn because it was in the organic, low carbon problem. So a few years we did burn quite a lot of wood as a backup to passive solar and earth sheltering. Wood for heat, for winter comfort. Our daughter, when we had our one daughter, she has somewhat asthmatic, indoor air quality issues started to come up, and we were kind of worried about that. And then we read articles about how polluting burning wood is on site. It's not polluting if it's in a wood burning energy plant, but it's pretty polluting at home. So we stopped using it for anything but emergencies. And we do get plenty of power outages here with all the trees. So it is really just, we have some wood on the site stored, and I only use it as an emergency, winter time when it would be difficult. So let's see, just looking out beyond, you can see, I think we'll talk about green landscaping when we get down there, but anything else up here, Brett, do you think?
There was a question that came in. What is the depth of soil above the roof?
Good question. Actually, when we walk down, I'll show you exactly. There's a lot of insulation and then a membrane. In this case, it's a polypropylene olefin membrane. And then there's a tray system of trays that are only about 3 inches deep. They have drainage and a geotextile to absorb water, so you retain some water and then drain it also. And about 4 inches of soil. It can be more, like I topped it up and made it higher by the pool. You can be deeper, but you don't have to be more than about 4 inches. So the new lightweight tray system roofs are really not that heavy, unless you want them to be thicker. A little hill here and there. I just only did that by the pool. So that's not to say you can just take a conventional house and throw some trays on it. May not be strong enough, may be strong enough, but probably not. But you need a more reinforced building for that. And let's go look at that tray while is there any other questions while we're...
I just wanted to take a quick peek over here for everybody.
Okay, good.
So we're heading to the, north side this way?
You're heading west.
West, yeah, west side. I'm just taking a quick pan of the property from atop the green roof here. Please let us know if you have any questions, any comments. We'd be happy to take them as we are doing this live tour. A reminder, we are in Grand Rapids, Michigan here, broadcasting from Green Home Institute's live Facebook. We are at the Underhill earth-sheltered passive solar integrated green roof home. And real quick, Tom, and I think you touched on it a little bit, but just what is the upkeep? Is there a lot of upkeep, a lot of weeding?
Good question. On the original roof, this roof, there was no upkeep whatsoever. It was just weeds, and it's going to be anything it looked like. And that was the great side, no maintenance. But the downside is really it wasn't a place to be. It was all like a weedy field. Great for evapotranspiration and all that. You can see how it is brown because we had 3 weeks, early June, late May, no rain, and it got a little brown, but now it's coming back because the rain came back. It's resilient. So the maintenance, though, on this roof, I have a maintenance agreement with the Van Screen Roof folks for 2 or 3 times a year, because if you want to keep it biodiverse but in control, all kinds of stuff comes there. We have had invasive things that we don't, they'll be maybe too tall or whatever. So 3 or 4 times a year, gardening type weeding process, that's all. So it's, it's fairly low maintenance. Let's go back to that question, because that's a pretty cool question. Here is the tray system. You can see just a little corner of it right here. The entire roof is full of these trays. There's the geotextile for water retention, and then everything's got slots for water drainage to this very large continuous heavy gauge steel eaves trough. And then all of the water is drained north, or in the case of on the south, the little portion of the roof drains south. So this stuff comes pre-grown. That was, of course, here on the site and put into empty trays. And then if you pan to the rocks there, those trays would have been put down empty and rocks brought in. Because I wanted to have a nice, durable, it's cool to have a walkway, so you don't have to worry about damaging. So the main walkway, you can walk on this roof, but it's nice to have the, for the main drag for people to walk stone. So then, lots of insulation, 2 layers of this isocyanurate board. We're on the plywood roof of the heavy duty house. 2 layers of this, then the olefin membrane, and that's all drains beautifully. That should last a 20-year guarantee. It's amazing. My previous membrane for 35 years was PVC, and it deteriorated. Well, it deteriorated in most buildings that didn't have a green roof after 10 years, but lasted 35 in the shade. This should last even longer, and then the trays go on. So that's the trays with the pre-grown, or you can site plant if you want, but I've got mostly pre-grown or my old roof put back on. And so you can see the thickness is, very thin. So you can certainly do a building if you properly engineer it for new lightweight roofs. Is that about enough for up here, Ben?
And then just speaking of the roof, which is especially in our climate zone here, climate zone 5, a huge place for energy loss. So what kind of R value are you looking at in a roof like this?
There's fiberglass between the joists, and then 2 layers of isocyanurate board, and so the general R value is 70 in the zones of this material, but at the boards it's less than 70. So it'd be probably about an effective R65.
R65, so.
For 35 years I only had R29 or R28. So in the upgrade to the new roof and the new membrane, we put this ISO, this is incredible stuff, the ISO board. It's R15 per inch or some incredible thing. Or no, not 15, maybe 8. It's a lot. This board didn't exist when I first built. I wish it had. But we were able to retrofit 4 inches of it. So the house got a little taller by 4 inches.
Yeah.
Of air, of good insulation air.
Yeah, so that's a significant R value. I know our recent code change has us just at 38. Yeah. A lot of Energy Star lead homes typically have 49, and more of the advanced homes go to the 60 level. So,
60 level, so we're 65-ish, 70 here. Okay, let's walk around now and let's take a quick look at the north side, just a little further down, because you can see that there are windows in the entryway, utility room, bathroom, and so on. They're not large enough to be egress windows, but they're large enough so you walk toward light. And then you'll see we'll go around the house and see the rest of it. But when we get to bedrooms, the hill drops, and we have more space for egress windows for the bedrooms. Accomplishing bedrooms in an underground house is tough. The safety terms, not to mention windowlessness. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to cave.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us at the Underhill home virtual tour. We got quite a bit more to go here, but feel free to ask questions and we'll try to get to them as we go or at the end.
At the end too. So as we come around, see the big heavy buttress walls. I did build a house myself. I hired a 16-year-old and a 21-year-old. We learned a lot doing that. I couldn't personally pour 16-foot high walls. So the main subcontractor I had was Ford Wall Commercial Contractor, and then the membrane roof contractor of the time. Other than that, I learned a lot about electricians, how to do electrical work and plumbing and all. Carpentry had already done some, but building your own house is an amazing experience. Made a few mistakes, but hopefully corrected them. So now we're moving around to the south side of the building, and you'll see the bridge and outer deck. My daughter's playhouse I built for her. When she moved out, it became a storage building that was all in the plan. And so now if we come onto the bridge to the screen room, we'll see this after inside. But this is a good place to discuss the shape of the building and how you would optimize for energy optimization, really. In a passive solar house, you're now seeing a 38-foot by 2-story glazed wall. The living level is this upper level. The lower level is my shop and studio. This is in summer mode, where those slats are in place. The building is fully shaded. But the white curtains, why are they there? Right now the building's fully shaded. The white curtains are covering up what's called a trom wall, T-R-O-M-B-E. It's a black concrete wall behind the glass with enough space to get in there and clean the windows. And it's an absorption heat sink. So you don't get overheating during the day, in the summer, or any day. So about 60% of the direct gain through the glass, which is very high-tech south wall glass, it's engineered to have maximum penetration and then a good R value coming back out. It's very special glass. But this time of year is fully shaded, as you can see, because we're at 12:25. Everything's shaded. But in a month or two, when the sun isn't, and now in August, probably the hottest month, the trom wall would start to be hit. So I have the polyester curtain in front of it. So I designed the whole building so that the size of the depth and the height is to 42 degrees north latitude, specifically. And so in September, when the sun keeps going lower and lower, it starts to penetrate the house, but that's when you want the heat. So it's very much, and many of you may not know that there's only about 4 places in the world, if you're in West Michigan right now, not all of you are, but that have equal length of 4 seasons. Here in West Michigan, parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin, a little bit of upstate New York, and part of Russia has 4 equal length seasons. So the design problem is equally heat and cold problems. So you have to have a balanced design around here. In Australia, the whole problem is heat, preventing it. In Alaska, the whole problem is staying warm. So we have 4 equal seasons. So that's the concept around. So it's a little more active to have a passive solar house like this. I like to use that term. I have to take the slats out in May and put them back in put the slats in May and take them back out in late September, so that we maximize solar gain, because the sun angle in August, hot, you don't want the sun gain, is the same angle as March, and any little precious March sun we could get. However, this building it's equally as important that it's earth sheltered as passive solar, because we're in one of the cloudiest places, the Great Lakes, and we have Lake Michigan lake effect clouds. So we can only expect about 30% heat contribution to the house in the winter here where we live. So in the summer you get a lot of sun, obviously, but in the winter not so much. So my message there to you is, just doing a passive solar house in West Michigan, the paybacks aren't significant unless you've done some other things too. Other things to talk about here on the landscape is that we have xeriscaping, and I don't think that term was even invented. We've never had any conventional grass. This is really neat that we've done this way. So as you can see, this big scooped area, that dirt went on the north side. So we had this big aperture for solar gain. What you're seeing here is what the Mother Earth provides you as Mother Nature, as weeds that are cut every other week in the summer months, in the growing months. Nice little squirrels, we got lots. And then if you're seeing that there, that higher portion, that is cut once a year flat. The meadow we cut maybe just 2 or 3 times a year. It's really friendly to deer and stuff. But without cutting it, it becomes a forest. So, 2 times, every other week, once a year, 3 or 4 times a year, or it becomes that, the woods. And of course, never needs watering or anything like that. It's very energy friendly to have xeriscaping. Xeriscaping in the desert is way different. So, what else do you think on this side, Brett?
The only question I had on that concept of being a little more active to have a passive, have you heard of systems coming online now that maybe can automate those kinds of tasks?
Oh yeah, I think I could have had sensors and pulled the curtain and all that.
Yeah.
But I really didn't want to have gadgets that are going to break down, so
Right.
simpler the better.
Right.
However, that means your lifestyle, you and I have talked about this, a personal lifestyle of lowering the thermostats. You can manually lower the thermostats like we do. You can get setback thermostats that are automated now. Electronics are great. You can do anything. But you still have to have the commitment to it. So, yeah.
Good. Well, we head inside.
Yeah, let's head inside. Let's go back around. And any questions while we're walking?
No other questions. Just if you can speak up a little bit, and I just got to get a little bit closer, and we'll get better sound, I think. So.
So we're now going to enter the building from the east. And I went to the School of Design in the School of Architecture and Design at Michigan. And I studied architects, famous architects. Frank Lloyd Wright was kind of important to me. And he had a concept of compression and release. If you've been in Lloyd Wright buildings, you can hardly find the entrance in many of them. And then when you find it, it's very low, and there's a drama to entering and learning about the building. So in this case, I needed that to get past the 2-stall garage. So let's walk deep into the earth, the bias angle.
One thing I noticed off bat too, in regards to sustainability, is the accessibility and being able to get right into the house.
Well, that's another universal design. The entire upper level of Underhill is completely barrier-free, as you'll see when we go in. There are no thresholds, no steps up, and in fact, from the Ottawa County, I had to get a variance from the code of a step up because it's required. At least it was in '78. Grab that. So if you see right here into the main entrance, there is no steps, and all the doors in the house are 3'0" wide. So it is a barrier-free house, universal design tenant. We didn't have to do that, but as we get older, we may be really happy we have that. So we're in a vestibule, foyer, and through this, we'll go to this later, but through that door is my business downstairs. And in here, then we're walking into with that compression and now release. Now we're 10-foot high ceilings here, much higher than a normal house's ceiling. And remember that 4-degree angle, the entire roof is 4-degree pitch for drainage, but it also created this nice great room. So great room, why is that important? It's become popular anyway in recent decades, but for passive solar, it was totally important to get the sun gain directly into the house, lots of thermal mass with the tile. And then I invented a set of gravity thermosiphon registers and ducts. So with no fans, in the winter, if the tram wall heats, you open up the registers and it naturally convects warmth off that black concrete wall into the house. And it's in a convective loop that locks at night because I won't get into all the techniques of that, but suffice to say, it has no moving parts, but it works. It's so cool, it just works. And when the wall, the tram wall, the solar battery, cools down to ambient, it just stops siphoning. So there's never been any kind of maintenance issues with that. I guess I mentioned about wood. We have the wood. It's the most energy efficient Yoto wood burning stove available at the time. We even used 100% outdoor air to it. So it was minimally polluting, but still somewhat polluting. We now just use that as an emergency. And we have some wood on the site and a power failure so we can be here. It's an all electric house. So this might be a good time to discuss that. Regular old conventional baseboards, but what's nice about that with passive solar and earth sheltering is the rooms can be selectively heated. Bedroom's not in use, just turn everything off. My studio is completely separate from my shop, my office, so I can heat the office, not heat the shop, which you can't do with forced air. I mean, well, forced air, but so selective use of that of electric, and then we have 100% renewables. I hope some of you out there have that. Consumers energy, the green generation program we've had since it was available, maybe 10 years. You pay a premium for the kilowatts, but you are guaranteed that you're allocated the 100% renewables. And then recently the Grand Valley, it's just about 4 miles from here, Grand Valley's campus, put in the solar garden, and we have a unit of their solar energy coming into the house. Realize it's not exactly the kilowatt that came in, it's an allocation from consumers energy, and if they don't have any more green kilowatts to send you, they don't sell anymore. So you pay a premium, but we're willing to do that because we don't use that much energy. Would this be a good time to discuss how much energy in the house? You think?
Oh, we can get to that at the end. So,
okay.
Maybe you can talk just a little bit about the three-season.
So the kitchen is an open kind of a kitchen, and I'll just show you that briefly with Viking range and Viking fridge. I've designed Viking stuff in the past, so I have my own design oven. Well, because my wife really liked the open plan, we have a separate butler's pantry, separate utility sink, which is really wonderful for grubby stuff. You never have to bring it into the main kitchen. And then right from the start we did recycling bins, trash, plastics, mixed plastics and glass, and then newspaper. And these are hampers for the utility, for laundry. So that's all worked out great.
And those condensing too?
They're not.
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, I see the vent at the side.
The dryer, but they're not condensing ones. So then let's walk. So the kitchen is, I really like this because we wanted to eat outdoors, al fresco, as much as we could. I put the door on unusually so that it folds right back. So this is a three-season room of a screened, pretty large screen porch, which is really nice because we are right near a 1 square mile of wetland. Plenty of mosquitoes, although this year not too bad yet. But we can be out here anytime we want. The unique part of this room is that with prevailing southwest winds, I put screens under the floor. So there's a natural updraft even on a really hot day. This is a cool room. Again, with natural climatic phenomena, no pumps, no blowers. You have to occasionally, every year or two, lift out the screen and clean them, because lots of cottonwood and stuff, but the updraft is really a nice effect. And of course dining and then outdoor cooking. My grill is a Viking, of course, but I love cooking out here, and I never have to worry about the bugs or the rain. Even in the rain in the summer, we can grill. And the birds and the critters love this place. We have counted 20 plus species of birds regularly visit all the little animals like squirrels and stuff. And we have counted 44 different bird species here, and it's about 20-something regular. You dumb head, don't run into the glass. That's one typical thing that big glass walls have. They mostly don't hurt themselves. I'm glad they do. Let's see, shall we just discuss down here a little bit?
Yeah.
So then as a great room, as we go down the great room, originally I had 2 bedrooms, and then when I got some more money 10 years later, we put on 2 more. So it's a 4-bedroom house. So the bedrooms are bedroom, not too weird. But if we turn here, this is kind of interesting for the story of a zoned bathroom, toilet room. For 10 years, Jill and I, we wanted to go the whole 9 yards, and we had a composting toilet and a chute for composting. All didn't need the outdoor compost frame. For 10 years we had that. We took responsibility for our own human waste, garbage waste. There was some maintenance issues, but it was an aerobic digester called the Clevis Maltrum. And it was a joy to have it in some ways, except when you ate bananas, you would have fruit fly invasions. So open up the toilet to use it, and fruit flies just got born. So there were some issues, but not serious. But then the tank started to crack after 10 years, so we would have been in deep doo-doo. I had to abandon it. Felt bad about it. So I just abandoned it for 10 years, just it all dried out, and then I just had to cut up the tank and dispose of it. But we put in then immediately the dual flush toilets. I haven't gotten all of them changed out yet because they haven't worn out. But that one was fairly worn out, so we got a dual flush. The American Standard one is really nice, really nice. American made one. That dual is really intuitive. And so then the very large showering room. My daughter did the graphics of the grape ivy that used to be on the roof. Is the metaphor here for the walk-in shower. Just love a walk-in shower with a seat. It's another issue about barrier-free. Low in the future, if we're really feeble, I guess we can still get over that little hump and sit down for a shower. Hopefully we won't get that feeble, but we'll see. And let's see what else here. Here's just another example of walking toward light. Any room except closets, you always walk toward light, even though this is a very small window on the north because we're 16-foot poured wall here. But at least you walk toward light. Bigger bedrooms have bigger windows.
The only thing I notice, for especially a lot of older homes, is the moisture issues that can accrue. So I see that you've got the Panasonic bath fan built right in, ventilating it right out the house.
Get it rid of it right away.
You've got the shower and tub surround well sealed to prevent moisture from coming in.
Right.
So.
And that's just it's much more critical in an earth-sheltered house, moisture control. I have to dehumidify on the lower level 3 months out of the year. July, August, part of September. Just because it's so cool down there. It could be in the high 60s. Right now it's not even 65 yet. When we go down there, I'll describe. But if it could be 95 outside, if it's 68 or 70 inside, there is going to be dew point reached. So we have to dehumidify down there to keep it low. Up here I've got good cross ventilation. So windows everywhere, and the southwest prevailing winds torque right through the upper level, so we don't ever have any moisture problems up here. Leakage from a roof, green roof, that's up to the membrane. And leakage in the walls is up to the good drainage, getting the moisture away from the building. So let's continue on. Let's go then to, there are some windowless places, but where I didn't, closets, sets of closets. There's a linen cedar closet in there, big closets, where I could use up the windowless space. When you have an earth-sheltered building, you're not going to have as much wall area. So let's completely change tone to my business then. As I said, we can, if I have a business visitor, they can go straight down. We're no longer barrier-free with the steps, but this is a straight shot to carry plywood if I want to. I have big doors down below too, but so now somebody to go to my business doesn't have to come in the house at all. And so let's go down. My 13-step commute. So I saved a lot of fuel. And then good old Uncle Sam, the IRS allows, if you have a completely dedicated part of your residence to your business, you can write that part of the house off. So 38% of this building is written off as a business. And they check, the auditors do check, and it has to be solely the business, not mixed use. So my studio here and workshop are dedicated to the business, and so that no other purpose. So it's legal, and I've been audited. So it's my industrial design studio. I design. You see all the lighting fixtures. Has a home office chair. The Newhouse group for Herman Miller was in the 1980s. Adjustable stuff, and right now I'm doing a lot of craze is really nice. The ergonomics of sit-to-stand is wonderful. So
that's a phenomenal
desk. Energy-wise, Brett could feel, and I can feel, you can't, but it is probably 62 down here yet. So actually I have to have a sweater on up until July. July it's about ambient with outside, but never extremes. There's so much thermal mass when you have the concrete wall that it just doesn't change temperature very fast. So by end of August, it starts to be kind of warm down here, and it stays warm until October. It's pretty interesting. It's a flywheel effect of an amazing amount of thermal mass. So that's a lesson in 2 stories in the ground makes a huge difference in earth-sheltered buildings in terms of ground contact and thermal mass effect. 1 story, nothing wrong with a 1-story earth-sheltered house, but there's just less effect of the earth, which is always 55 degrees this deep in the ground. So let's see. We move into the shop, and anything else in here, Brett?
I don't think so.
Yeah. We move into the shop. Now in the winter, I got these doors. All winter, this 800 or so square feet of my shop, I don't even have to heat at all. Here's the 16-foot poured wall. It just stays nice and cool in here. But when in February, March, it's getting pretty cooler down here, I can heat myself when I'm working at my bench. Otherwise, don't need any other heat. It's cool but usable. And then so here is the. You come around here, Brett, you can see the tram wall is in its own room. I described it earlier, but there's a huge black concrete wall here behind the curtain, painted black. It's in a convective loop room, and if you see those ducts, the white ducts, it's like the old gravity furnace. If this thing is hot, heat rises through the floor registers, causing cooler air to drop through these registers. And so it works beautifully. It just works because of the gravity effect of temperature differential.
Is there any way we can see in there?
Yep. I'll get that out of the way. You can then look in and see the 38, I think it's 38 feet of.
It's just a shot of the.
That's the polyester. It's closed right now.
Right. Tram wall system with the.
One mistake I made, or I don't really call it a mistake, but I was reading New Mexico books. I did a 16-inch thick poured wall. It could have been 6 inches thick. We don't get that much sustained day after day sun. So I didn't have to spend as much. It also holds up the floor, so it's not like it's dumb. But I could have held up the floor with a lot less concrete.
Right.
Nobody had the data. So in some ways I mimicked New Mexico data where it's all winter, it's sunny every day. Summer you really have to worry about overheating. But in winter, I wish we had that much sun here. It would be so nice. I'd be completely, if the sun was out every day like in New Mexico, we would hardly need any heat.
Right.
Supplemental heat. And let's see, so I think we could probably move out. Here we got 15 minutes left, so let's move out and see then the lower yard, and then we can I can recap and then we can take some questions. We'll go sit somewhere. So here I've got a big door for the office with an active side leaf, so I can get big stuff in and out. Don't have to use it too often, but it's an active. So it's a big hole. Here's the lower patio. So now as we walk, you'll see, looking up at south wall technology, specifically engineered glass for south-facing houses, so that it allows, it's not tinted at all, it allows direct gain in, and then it has a nice R value engineered into it. It's not huge, but it's like R3 or 4. It's not a lot, but you wouldn't want to have tinted glass and try to get heat into it. So, the type of glass we use in a passive solar house. Here you can then start to see on the addition part, where Jill's study is bedroom 2. I have the same, little bit different orientation, but the same removable slats. That's the hottest corner of the house without that. I used to have canvas awnings, but they just wear out. So you can see then in the afternoon sun gets to be brutal in any place in Michigan in August or whatever. So the wraparound of the slats completely shade that corner of the house. A lot of architects sometimes forget about the west, where there's a lot of overheating in the afternoon. And then a really hot afternoon and evening can bake a house. And you're just thinking south instead of south and west as a problem. So here you can see that's what Mother Nature provides you if you cut it all the time. I have no idea what it is. If you don't cut it except once a year, that's what you get. That was flat, you know, for this growing season. It's this tall already, and it'll be here after one season, and you'll cut it flat again with a brush hog. And then that's the every other week mowed part. And the meadow then is so nice to have this because there's herds of deer and stuff out here. We're very fortunate to have 3 acres. And so this gets cut 2 or 3 times. It's been cut once already. We're going to cut it another couple weeks and then probably once more, maybe. And we've got a little kind of cul-de-sac cut in there. Really popular for. So that's all swamp. It's a pond in the spring, but it's a bog. I understand in the turn of the 20th century it was a muck farm. This whole low area was a super black dirt muck farm, like a few still exist around here. So if you look, kind of turn around and come look back, you see the massive solar aperture. But June 21st. It's summer solstice, by the way, but it's wonderful. It's noon on summer solstice, June 21st. The most straight up sun you could ever get, completely shaded. So that was the kind of the holistic thought of 4 seasons design. I think that kind of completes the tour, so let's get comfortable somewhere. And
yeah, we've got some time for questions. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the energy nerd data here for a second. And
got the nerd data. Brett's really a nerd on that stuff.
Yeah. I'm speaking for myself here.
I'm semi. I wanted to quantify what did we do with all this, because this is a more expensive building, as you can imagine, than a regular conventional frame house sitting on a flat lot. But if I build it myself, I save a little money and so on. But it certainly costs more for a high R value roof. Membrane costs more than shingles. Green roof is an addition. So none of
probably a good spot right here.
Okay, good. Yeah, so let's just.
So yeah, we definitely got some time for Q&A here. As you're thinking of some questions to ask, I just wanted to go over some energy items. You know, we came in and helped out with a sort of an energy audit, blower door assessment, reviewed some of the thermal envelope features using the DOE's home energy score. You know, we took a look at energy information data, EIA, Energy Information Administration data, which I think they're just about to release that was sort of their 2009. I think they're on the cusp of releasing
a new one. They don't have
2015. Yep. And so that's just going to take a full-blown review of energy across the U.S. and many different factors. But you know, we know looking at it that the average home in Michigan uses roughly around 36,000 kilowatt hours. So that's transferring over BTU CCS from gas, converting it into kilowatt hours.
The nerd made me look this up. So
yeah,
36,000. Yep. That's the EIA data, right?
Yep. And then we know probably from a house built in the late 70s of this size, a conventional home probably is going to be up to more of the 45, 50, almost 55,000
kilowatt hours per year.
Yeah. So what did your house come in at?
The last 2 years is almost identical since we upgraded the R value. And our exact total kilowatt hours for the house, studio, all the machinery, everything was 18,816
and so that
kilowatt hours versus 36,000 for an average size West Michigan home. This house is half again bigger than the average size, so it's even more efficient. But if you just did the math of 36,000 kilowatt average house, this building 18,000 is 52%. So it's just round numbers. If house for house, it would be twice as efficient, or assumes half the energy, 52%. Except that it's way bigger than an average house, and it has a business, shop, and home. So I don't have to have a separate building to take care of and pay energy bills on, because it's an atelier. It's a house and studio combination. So if you did all that math, it would suggest that in terms of square foot, this house, if you just did square foot per square foot, it consumes 28% of the energy of an average house. Now, it was really neat that Brent and his team did Brett and his team did the energy assessment with the blower door. This is not particularly a tight house. I was a carpenter with not tremendous skills. Doors and windows used to be leakier. So it is not a particularly tight house, and it still performs that. So the coolest thing about the future would be if you see those little streamers, that's to try to have them not do that. There's no wind right now. Anyway, so back to the point of low energy consumption. But the house isn't that tight. I was worried about, with my daughter's asthma, having a super tight house and have sick building syndrome. But with the passive solar and the earth shelter, we still are twice as efficient as a house with leakage. Mm-hmm. And the cool report that he gave me is where we could tighten things up. So I mean, I would encourage anybody to get a home energy assessment. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit that can be fixed without much cost.
And so, yeah, I'm glad you were mentioning there was a question that just came in on dust and indoor air quality issues, but the question was more in regards to the shop usage. Mm-hmm. Yep. So how?
I can open the windows in the shop, and when I raise dust, I vacuum it with a large shop vac. Mm. Make sure it's all closed, and then vacuum it.
Mm-hmm. What do you use to? One of the questions is, what tools are you familiar with that come in handy for calculating the size of window overhangs or depth?
Yeah, there's I forgot the exact name of it, but it's the solar insolation chart, INSOL, insolation, and it describes where you are in the Earth at your latitude, and the shape of things, and the sun angle at different times of the year. So basically, to make it simplified, I'm no scientist, I had to calculate the highest, which is today actually. The highest sun angle is 21st of June. The lowest sun angle is December 21st. So I calculated those two extremes to size the building and the size of all the windows and all that, yeah. The shading and the access to the sun. So that's that.
And just so everyone knows, no, we did not plan to do this on the summer solstice. Well, we did plan, but we didn't realize.
We didn't realize
it was not intentional. So
how cool is that? And the sun was out today at noon when we were here.
Yeah.
So the solstices are important to us.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, back to your energy usage. In the audit we found around 1900-ish CFM, which is an air leakage rate with the blower door testing. Which is, really good for a house built during that time.
39 years old.
Yeah. Now, in this day and age, we're always trying to get, significantly down to 500, 400, even 100 CFM if possible. Passive house strategies, features, and of course, then including energy recovery ventilators, ventilation strategies. But I think that goes to show with average leaking. With electric resistance heat, which nowadays has become a fairly inefficient way to heat.
Relative to heat pumps and all.
Yeah, everything's moving towards that heat pump system.
Right.
And just to confirm, you have no propane, and you only use wood in emergency situations.
Yeah, it's all straight electric.
Yeah.
Resistance.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just really phenomenal to see the amount of energy this home doesn't use. And when you try to push it into the workings of energy rating systems, they're still trying to figure out how to assess for tron wall systems, passive solar gain, as well as earth shelter. The fact that some of this house is under the ground, and so they're they do have challenges assessing for that. We didn't use a HERS index rating on this, which is a little more robust, and so is Passive House's WFI tool. But it's still a slightly challenging. So we know homes like these. What I think is we appreciate is homes like these that don't need a lot of the expensive mechanical equipment or deep air sealing to reduce
That would
energy.
be the lesson here, is that by going to all this trouble of the serious passive solar earth integrating shape and all that, you didn't need high-tech stuff. If I only knew what I know, knew then what I know now, but they didn't exist, is better our insulation. I had enough money, but I had to do it later because I made some more money. And just ERVs, energy recovery ventilators, weren't invented yet. So we had to be kind of ad hoc on some of the stuff. But now we would have groundwater heat pump, ERV, it'd just be incredible for the efficiency. And the same building shape's still valid if you can find a site like it. Yeah. Any other questions pop in before?
Yeah, I don't see any other questions. We still got another second for questions. I had one on the passive solar feature right on the tip of my tongue earlier, and now it's completely. Oh yes. So, have you considered trying to bring more natural light into the workshop area? Have you figured out a way that could happen by bypassing the Trombe wall without losing its value? And
well, yeah. Remember I said I used New Mexico data on this massive wall with no penetration, maximum black. Because we're cloudy in the winter, I could have had windows cut through the trom wall.
Right.
And it wouldn't have made a whole lot of
It wouldn't have
difference,
made
but I didn't know.
Right.
Now it's hard to cut through 16 inches of concrete, so
Yes.
I haven't added windows.
Right. Just
Could have done
difficult
it.
and expensive.
That's a learning curve.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're going to go ahead. I don't see any other questions, so we're going to close out here. I'm going to actually paste a survey into the comment section. So for those of you listening live, you can go in and take your. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry. There is a question here. Are there drawings and details available for this home to study more in depth? Will you share any of your secrets?
No, I do not, because it's completely specific to the site. I was able to design from scratch to the site, and now it's 30-some years old, so I don't publish it other than just what you've seen.
Or site plans or anything that show.
No,
Okay.
I don't publish it.
Fair enough. All right. So yeah, I think that was our last question here. So I just again sent over the form to take your survey. For those of you who need continuing education, please fill that out. For those of you listening to the on-demand session, the recording, make sure to take your 10-question quiz with an 80% passing rate. A big thanks to all of our members, our sponsors, Panasonic, Certainteed, St. Gobain, Build Equinox, Niagara Stealth Conservation Toilets for supporting what we do, our board of directors, our volunteers, and again a huge thanks to Tom for having us out to take a behind the scenes tour.
Thank you to the Green Home Institute.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.